Welcome back to the third Saturday in October, your SEC water cooler podcast for the rest of us. Find us on social media at TSIO Pod, Facebook, Instagram, X. It's still weird saying X. It's Twitter to everybody. It's kind of like the Facebook. It's going to stick around for a while. I am Bradley here with my co-caster, Jared. Jared, how are you?
This was a great weekend for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed a lot of football this weekend, and so hanging with you and talking about it, there's nothing I'd rather do.
Hey, and
So
there's plenty to talk about. Let's jump right into your state, the state of Florida. Uh, I don't know what's going on, but the recruiting pool that is the state of Florida, you should not be having the years that UF and FSU are having. It's it's bad.
yeah,
But
it
I
is
mean,
bad.
we're recording this on Monday. You'll hear it as early as Tuesday. As of our recording, Napier's still head coach at Florida, but just 24 hours ago, there was a board of trustees meeting. Not sure what it's about, but it's got to have something to do with Napier's progress or lack thereof on the football field.
Yeah, if I had to guess, and this is speculative, but they're, making sure they have the money to go ahead and say, Napier, thank you, and we're gonna make you a very rich man and give us back the keys.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't, are they going to pull USC on Lane Kiffin, as he's boarding the plane home from Mississippi State next weekend and say,
If
thank you
if he
very
makes it the next weekend, I think if
right.
you're going to
Yeah.
play Mississippi State, maybe you don't want Napier coaching because that's a team you could probably beat.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's all
Maybe,
kinds of random scenarios out there of what could happen.
maybe it's on the tarmac getting on the plane to go to Mississippi State. You know,
Maybe, yeah. There's yeah. I think you and I both agree that Napier's days are numbered.
yeah.
And I think he is probably a really good guy. I've never met him personally, but
Yeah.
this unfortunately just didn't work out for him.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced this will define him long term. I think he did a great job in his previous stops, and there will likely be another school if and when he's not at Florida that will probably want to have him involved in some capacity.
Yeah.
Whether that's head coach right out of the gate, I don't know, but um, I would imagine he'd land probably at a G5 again, and probably do just fine.
Yeah.
But when you have money like he's about to make, you got choices, you got options. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. Well, I know you and I texted quite a bit over the weekend as we do, and but between you and I, Lane Kiffin seems like a very obvious guy to
yeah,
go after early, if not first, just based on his personality, for like I guess how he wants to prove himself, but also I think he's a pretty dang good recruiter, both from high school and from the portal. And going to a place like Florida, where you've got a lot of players who grew up watching the Tim Tebow, Urban Meyer era of Florida football win a lot of games. Um, I think I think I think Lane Kiffin could go and do quite well over there. We've seen what he's been able to do at Ole Miss.
yeah. There's some that make the argument of, okay, why does he need to go to Florida? Because now you got the playoffs, and can he just be at Ole Miss? And I hear that, but the allure of Florida, I think, is it's a arguably a top five program.
Yeah,
They have pretty much everything you could possibly want to succeed. Sadly, it doesn't look like that worked for Napier, but um, Lane could probably step in there and right the ship pretty fast. if he wanted to, and he'd be neck and neck with some of the big boys. So, but that is a big decision. Um, I'm not sure. And truthfully, if Lane doesn't want to go to UF, I was kind of racking my brain of who would be the right person to get. I had a couple of ideas. One is Fish out at who's now at Washington.
Yeah.
He's a grad, but has he accomplished enough as a head coach, to potentially be at Florida?
Yeah.
And would they want to go that route? Um, yeah, there's a lot of what ifs, so it'd be interesting to see how that plays out.
Right. I don't know. I'm glad I'm not an athletic director
Hmm.
because I feel like every year you've got one, maybe two, and if they aren't interested, then what? And really it's all a gamble.
Hmm.
Because often you're going with somebody who's only got a couple years success. It's not often that you can find somebody who's been there a while and they're willing to leave. Usually they kind of settle in. It's like I've got a good thing here. I've I like the amount of pressure I get versus the success I see on the field, that sort of thing. But I don't know. But Lane Kiffin is that kind of dynamic coach that I can
Oh yeah,
see
yeah.
bringing Florida back to relevance, which, as I've said on this podcast before in previous seasons, I hate Florida, and
Hmm.
I'm okay with Lane Kiffin staying at Ole Miss and making Ole Miss a powerhouse, and somebody else going and falling flat on their face at Florida. I'm fine with
Yeah,
that.
I know you are, but Florida isn't. So they're gonna
Right.
yeah they're gonna figure something out. I don't know what that'll be. Now I remember Tennessee was in a similar scenario several years back, and I guess it got leaked they were going to hire Craig Schiano, and the Tennessee fans just rejected that so greatly they had to
Yeah.
pivot.
Yeah.
Um,
It
yeah, I
was
remember that was a mess, and I can't imagine Tennessee with Craig Schiano.
right. And
Greg Schiano.
so
Yeah.
so many things went wrong with that. I mean, the athletic director who
The Farmer, who was that?
no, this was why am I blanking on his name?
Hmm.
Um but he basically got run out after that because
Yeah, that was a debacle.
uh, unapproved interviews with head coaches, including Shiano. And it's like, no, if you're not going to listen to the directive of your superiors, you're out. And that's when they brought Fulmer in. Um, man, I can't believe that. I can't.
Was it they hired the guy from Alabama, the defensive coordinator?
Uh,
My
Pruitt, yeah.
mind's Pruitt. Was Pruitt the one they ended up going with on that
Um,
particular
so
situation?
I believe so. There've been so
Because
many
there they
coaching
had a little
changes.
bit of a revolving door there for a few years.
Yeah. Um, because I can't remember.
So was that post
It sounds right.
Butch Jones, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because Pruitt came after Butch Jones, and it was a it was a Shiano show. Um,
Oh yeah, that was man. I can't imagine Tennessee with him.
I mean, you talk about a rabid fan base.
Mm.
Tennessee Twitter, Tennessee X, is considered one of the best or worst fan bases out there. Um, yeah,
It's one of the best right now because y'all are winning.
oh yeah, oh yeah, and I mean it's fun to watch. I'm gonna enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, rightfully so.
So yeah, I don't want to be an AD. It's too much pressure with all that. Um, who knows? But if I'm AD at Texas, I'm feeling pretty good because I've got uh what was a Heisman favorite in Ewers at quarterback, winning games, feeling strong. Then he goes down, um, oblique strain or something like that. And now it is the Arch Manning show until Ewers is back, and he did he did just fine.
Yeah,
Um, and they are now the new number one team according to I believe it's the AP poll that I saw, um,
yeah, yeah. Texas
dethroning
is.
Georgia. So
I think the issue Texas may run into is okay. You're starting Arch Manning now. He's playing really well. Now yours is back. Um, that seems like that's going to be a little bit weird to now just say, okay, yours, come on back in,
yeah,
after after Arch is now, kind of the guy.
yeah,
But I understand that's probably what will happen. But if I'm Arch Manning, I'm like, hey, what am I, chop liver? Been sitting
right,
here waiting and making things happen, and now you're gonna make me wait again. But
yeah,
yeah, it'll
and
be it'll be curious. I'll be curious to see how that plays out.
yeah,
So
and from what I've heard, it seems like Peyton has really been the one speaking out about why why Arch chose Texas and has stayed at Texas. It seems like he went knowing, okay, what what coach do I want to develop me?
yeah,
Which is a smart decision. It's not just where am I going to get the most playing time because he could have gone a lot of other places where he could get earlier playing time.
yeah. I know
But
he'd be starting probably 95% of schools.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
uh, yeah, and so he's like, this is who I want to develop me. And I think you saw some of that on Saturday of I'm in this system. It's Coach Sarkeesian's system. I've been in it for a few years. I know how to step in and manage that system. Um, and I think when he does finally take over as QB1 indefinitely, then I mean I don't see Texas taking a step back at the quarterback position when Ewers is done either.
yeah.
Well,
No,
for
not
whatever
not at
reason.
all. No,
Yeah,
no. And some would argue that maybe you're even getting better.
yeah,
They have two starting quarterbacks. That's my point.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a little bit tricky, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. But the next two games, I think, for Texas are ones they likely will win pretty easy.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think their first test would be probably Oklahoma, the Red River rivalry.
yeah. I'm glad you
Um,
said it because it is hard for me to say. but
yeah.
but let's jump into some of these games.
Hmm.
Starting off, Alabama, um, as you said on Saturday, burned Wisconsin like a Baylor fan on a Texas Saturday. If you don't know what we're talking
Yeah.
about, go check out Instagram.
Yes.
The picture has resurfaced of my freshman year at Baylor,
Hmm.
2 days before Halloween, 2005. A a bee is burned into my chest.
Yeah.
Um, Alabama winners
I can't
42.
unsee that now. Thanks, Bradley.
Right, yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, internet. Um, I mean, so far I've been impressed with uh the new era of Alabama football. Um, I don't know that it's really taken a step back, um, is a little surprising. I know there's still the SEC schedule to come up, but impressed with Alabama so far.
Yeah, Wisconsin got exposed, and I'm sad that their quarterback got hurt because that's going to potentially have a negative consequence for them over the long term this season. But
Yeah,
yeah, once that happened, there really wasn't much for them that they could
yeah,
do, and yeah, Alabama just took advantage of it, and rightfully so. But yeah, Alabama's a good team, and if you sleep on Alabama, you may regret it. So they're not going away.
no, and Alabama's got a
Yeah.
bye week, and then I
Hmm.
believe they play Georgia.
That's going to be. It's so nice that these two teams are going to get a chance to finally play regular season. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
I'm excited to see that game in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
Um, then, then, oh man, LSU winners over the real USC, South Carolina, 36-33.
Yeah, man, I'm heartbroken for the Gamecocks. What I mean, they had it.
They had this game and they gave it away, and
They had
that's
it. Yeah, they had a win, and that would have been a huge and epic win for them. So it's disappointing for their fans, and I'm sure for all those players and coaches to let that slip. But LSU's LSU, man, and an ugly win counts in the SEC, and they got one.
yeah, a win is a win. 2-1 is very different from 1-2.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh, and LSU has UCLA next, and USC has Akron. Um, so South Carolina get back in gear against Akron.
We saw South Carolina beat Kentucky and just and then we think they're going to beat LSU, and we're like, South Carolina, who's this team?
Yeah,
And then to let that slip, that's heartbreaking for those guys, man. That because that would have been such a big win.
yeah,
Um,
um,
South Carolina's good. They're
yeah,
they're they're beatable, obviously, but they're good.
yeah. Um, Missouri next, beat Boston College 27-21.
Yeah, that seems too close. I thought Missouri would probably have handled business a little bit better there.
Yeah. I mean, is this Missouri team for real? They've got, I know they've got a favorable schedule, but also there's some good teams on that schedule.
I think Missouri is for real. Um, I think Boston College is probably a little bit better than we all thought they were.
Yeah.
But I'm not discounting Missouri until I see a good reason to. Um, they're going to get tested here soon, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm excited to see how that Missouri story plays out.
Yeah, me too.
Um, Oklahoma beats Tulane 34-19. And I gotta say, Oklahoma has not been too impressive so far this season for me. I did expect more out of them um so far this season.
Yeah, so they're obviously gonna go to. Oh, they've got Tennessee coming to their place. Uh, the way Tennessee's playing right now, that would make me nervous being an OU fan.
I
So,
I am so excited. I've got
mm.
friends that are OU fans. I can't talk to them this week. Um
Now, but in the other side of that is this is OU's chance.
yeah,
Okay, if you're the OU we think you could be, you got to prove it against teams like Tennessee. Are they going to be able to do that? My thought is they won't. Tennessee, I think, is just on fire right now. So I'm predicting Tennessee to win that game. But
yeah,
the OU has a chance to shock the world. And be like, hey, no, you're not coming into Norman, and we're SEC now, but this is our house, so we'll see.
yeah. There are gonna be a lot of eyes
Mm.
um on Norman, Oklahoma this Saturday.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's a night game. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Yep.
At Oklahoma, our last time we played Oklahoma was in our Butch Jones years,
Mm.
and led a couple games. I remember one of them being close, I think. The other one I don't remember if it was close or not, but those were the Baker Mayfield years,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
oh,
OU
oh
is
and 2
really
there.
good. Yep.
So I'm ready for redemption. I mean, this is a big game. Not just Oklahoma's first SEC game, um, first real test of the year for both Oklahoma and Tennessee. It's also just Josh Heupel's return to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Um, and I was listening to somebody on the radio, former Tennessee coach, say I've got no uh uh I got no doubts that Josh Heupel will treat this professionally. Like he understands the kind of the nostalgia behind this game of him coming back to Oklahoma. But he's going to handle it professionally. He
No,
wants to come out there.
he's gonna play to win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's going to play to win big too.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And if yeah, and he likely will. We'll see.
yeah, and he said the other thing is his team knows that this is a big game,
Yeah.
and they they seem very bought in to Heupel's system and Heupel's way of doing things. And I expect big things just out of this particular game this Saturday. So, oh,
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It's gonna be a good one. I can't wait.
Yeah. Texas A&M over Florida 33-20, and we've talked about Florida a little bit already. Um, Florida looked bad against a backup QB.
Yeah.
That that's what I took away from this is A&M had their backup QB in and Florida just didn't look good.
Yeah, that was one of the games Florida should have been able to win. So probably more reason Napier's not gonna last.
Yeah.
But hats off to Texas A&M. SEC is a gauntlet. Um, just because you think somebody's going to win doesn't mean they will. I don't think either of us thought South Carolina would go in and beat Kentucky the way they did, and they did. So
Yeah.
uh, LSU almost lost to South Carolina. So this is a good example of that. Texas A&M went to Gainesville and they were ready to play, and they walked out with a W.
Yeah.
So good for them.
Yeah.
That's a good win for Mike Elko, and yeah, Texas A&M is not a cupcake, and they're gonna surprise some teams. I don't think they're the Texas A&M that they want to be yet, but
Right.
they're still a threat.
Yeah. Um, Florida's next at Mississippi State. Uh, Tickets as low as $13 as of this morning.
Yeah,
Um,
Mississippi State. This is a hard year for them. If
yeah.
you're a Mississippi State fan, um, you just gotta start looking forward to the future, I guess, because I don't know how many wins you're gonna get this year.
Yeah. Um,
It's a rough
and
one.
A&M's got Bowling Green uh
Yeah,
coming up. So mm, they they should get they should get a good look at um some youngsters against Bowling Green. Um, Arkansas over UAB 37-27. I tend to think Arkansas maybe a little hungover from um that overtime loss against Oklahoma State. Because I UAB, a team that just a few years ago they had to cut the football program
yeah,
just financially, and then it got reinstated. Um, but it's only been a couple years that UAB's been back, and only losing by 10 to Arkansas, that doesn't seem right.
yeah. Arkansas, I think, has a good offense that they can put up some points. Doesn't seem like their defense is going to be able to stop the more elite schools. So, we'll see what happens with that. But they've got Auburn, and I'm an Auburn fan, obviously. So I'm hoping we can, find a solution to stop their offense. That's
Yeah.
what I'm hoping for. But I'm not naive enough to think Arkansas is not going to want to come into Auburn and prove a point. And so, I'm hoping Auburn didn't get a second loss against Arkansas. That would be a heartbreaker for us. But
Yeah. We don't need that.
yeah, well, that's not what I'm hoping for. That's for sure. But Arkansas, I think is they're not a team to totally sleep on, but they're beatable for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. They'll put up a fight, as we
yeah,
saw against
hmm
Oklahoma State.
yeah. They could have won that game.
Yeah. Very close to winning it. Ole Miss, Wake Forest, Ole Miss winning 40-6. A little surprised that this wasn't a bigger beatdown. Um, I didn't really watch the whole game, but um, watch the beginning, and yeah, I think Lane Kiffin put on paper your resume for the Florida job. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, Ole Miss is good. They're a good team, and they're gonna likely be playoffs, I think. I don't think they win the SEC necessarily, but they're gonna be around, barring they don't have any, injuries or anything crazy. But they're a good team,
yeah, Dart's a
and
good quarterback,
yeah, yeah, they're gonna put up points. They're gonna be good. They're gonna compete. So
and Kiffin. I gotta say that I think Kiffin and Heupel are two of the most brilliant offensive minds in college football right now. I mean,
yeah,
Kiffin has been for a while. You saw him at Alabama. You saw him um, early at Ole Miss.
yeah.
You know,
I mean, Kiffin won at Florida Atlantic, for crying out loud. I
yeah,
mean, he's yeah,
but his historic throwing up the touchdown hands before the ball's even thrown because he schemes guys open.
yeah.
And I don't know how he does it because I don't know enough about how you scheme all these things. Um, but Kiffin's ability to just have those wide open touchdowns and Heupel's ability to um, both run and pass in such big chunks, it's just two impressive offensive minds. And I
Does
yeah, I
Tennessee play Ole Miss this year?
no, that would be a great matchup, wouldn't it?
I guess that's probably a relief if you're a Tennessee fan
I
because
mean,
because Ole Miss is good.
yeah, it
So
would be a heck of a game.
yeah,
I'm double checking. Yeah, no Ole Miss. Um, I wouldn't hate it. I re I really wouldn't hate.
well, it's such a challenging season anyway.
Yeah.
So man, if you can not have to face them, go ahead.
What what's the over under on points? I mean, is that a 150 point game? Um,
I would like to say Tennessee's defense could probably manage, but maybe yeah, it might be.
I mean,
So
yeah. Um, we'll see. Ole Miss destined for good things this season.
yeah, I think they're a playoff team.
Yeah. Then Texas playing UT San Antonio winning 56-7. Arch Manning came in and just really took care of business. We've talked about this.
Yeah, he
He
looked good.
he looked like he was not worried about speed of play, where guys were going to be. And I think one of the things that can be tough for a backup quarterback coming in is a lot of times the backup quarterback is playing with the backup receivers, and that timing is not always the same. And that's what's impressive is being able to adjust to where these guys going to be, when are they going to be there? Because some of them are going to be there a little different time, split second different. They're I mean, they're different sizes. Some of those guys may be bigger, smaller, and whatever you're used to is now different. Um, and so that's what's so impressive for me in what Arch Manning was able to do Saturday.
Yeah, and he actually had a really good run. I've not really seen him run before, so
Yeah,
that it shouldn't have surprised me, but it kind of did.
yeah.
When I saw him,
Well,
because
you've seen
he's good at that too.
yeah,
So
you've
I
seen
was
Peyton
like,
run, if you can call it running.
right.
Uh, you've seen Eli run. Arch is Cooper's son. Cooper
Hmm.
was actually a wide receiver.
Hmm.
So you figure he can run a little bit.
Well,
But
Arch can run.
yeah, he
Yeah.
that running ability obviously did not go to. the two younger uh Manning brothers, it went from Archie to Cooper and just stayed there. Stayed on that side of the family. Yeah, that was impressive to see Arch take off and run for 47, 50 yards, something around there. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a Longhorn fan, but man, I was happy for him. So good for him.
Yeah, I love seeing somebody be patient, wait their turn,
Yeah,
and excel when it arrives.
yeah,
Um, Texas next against UL Monroe. By the way, Ole Miss plays Georgia Southern next. Both those should be very lopsided
yeah,
games.
yep.
Um, the the upset of the week, if you ask me, Georgia State beating Vanderbilt 36-32. Come on, Vandy. You Vandied. Um,
It was
I
only a matter of time, Bradley.
I know.
Sadly.
I wanted to see Vanderbilt 3-0. I
Yeah,
think I got
I thought this would be the year we would see that. Yeah, but
I got too
that said,
excited.
yeah, I think if you're a Vanderbilt fan, you kind of knew, okay, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
So this game was win, but you still have a lot to play for this year. So
Yeah. I
I
think
think Vandy can make a bowl.
yeah,
So
I think Vanderbilt still has the opportunity to surprise some people.
yeah,
Um,
100%. Their quarterback's amazing. Um,
yeah.
they're not a bad team, and they've already they already beat teams like Virginia Tech, right? So
Yeah. It's gonna
they
be
can take
interesting
it.
to it's gonna be
Yeah,
interesting to see how they bounce back at Missouri next week. Um,
yeah, their schedule's not going to get any easier. So
no. Um,
mm,
so I'm gonna have an eye on that game. Um,
yeah,
see what Missouri does against Vanderbilt.
right.
Um, Kroger Field saw Georgia beat Kentucky 13-12. What year is it? Like what decade? What century? Um,
I can't explain that one. I know Georgia was happy to just get out of there with the win,
yeah,
but for that entire game, I was thinking we were going to see a major upset there,
yeah,
and we almost did. So
yeah,
yeah, that's any given week in the SEC, right? So
yeah. I mean, weird things used to happen after dark in Baton Rouge, and now weird things happen after dark in
in
Lexington.
Lexington,
Um,
yeah,
so yeah, I think Kirby Smart has plenty of bulletin board material with just how they how they executed there, um, and
yeah. Georgia
being
plays
dethroned
like
as
they
number
played
one.
against Kentucky, against bigger schools or better programs like a Tennessee, like Alabama. They're gonna lose.
Yeah, they've got to get
Yeah,
that fixed in their off week before they play Alabama,
yeah,
because yeah,
yeah. You play like that against Alabama. I don't think you're gonna beat them.
no, no, and Alabama's already had Georgia's number for the
Hmm.
most part in recent memory. So
Right.
um yeah, Georgia's got some work to do. Kentucky has Ohio next week. Uh Baby Goat, impressive as Auburn
Yeah.
beats New Mexico 45-19. Um, Baby Goat where'd that nickname come from? Is it his hair?
There's a podcast I listen to called Locked on Auburn,
Yeah,
and I think that nickname came from the host of Locked on Auburn. And his name is Zach Blackerby. That's the first one I heard call him that, but it's caught on. A lot of people are now calling him that nickname. We're talking about Hank Brown, of course,
yeah,
redshirt freshman. Uh, really, what seems like a just solid guy. Uh, he was from the Nashville area, and
yeah. So he went
yeah,
to Lipscomb Academy in Nashville, and uh Trent Dilfer, I believe, is their head coach.
yeah,
Lipscomb
UAB's coach now. Yep.
Lipscomb has had a couple of former NFL players as their head coach here recently. Um, but coming from Lipscomb with Trent Dilfer as your coach, like you're getting some quality QB instruction, and to bring that to Auburn, where you've got Hugh Freeze, who's done some pretty amazing things with QBs as well. It was cool to see a Nashville kid do well in his debut, and um, I know the Auburn crowd went pretty wild when he was introduced as
Absolutely.
starting
Yeah.
quarterback on Saturday.
Yeah, it feels for Auburn fans. I can't speak for all of them, but for me personally, it feels like kind of a new beginning, and there's a lot of Auburn fans that are ready for that. So Peyton Thorne, just after that loss to Cal, there was people just really not wanting to continue down that path, and I was really surprised that Hugh Freeze had the courage to bench Peyton Thorne and let Hank Brown have a shot. I didn't
Yeah,
think he would do it, and he did. But I'm glad he did, and I think Hank Brown seized the moment. I think he played really well. He wasn't perfect, but he did really well. And of course, it's against New Mexico, so that their defense isn't very good. Uh, Now he's got Arkansas this week, and but I think that was a really good chance for him to get his feet wet. And now he's got Arkansas coming in, and I think he'll be ready. I think he can hang. But at the end of the day, he's a redshirt freshman, so I don't want to put too much pressure on the guy. But I'm excited for him,
yeah,
and I'm excited that he's getting this opportunity. I think he deserves it. So,
yeah. I think Hugh Freeze is going to do great things at Auburn. It it's
mhm.
like just give him a little time to get his guys in there and learn the system.
Yeah,
Like with the transfer portal, you can get your guys in there pretty quick, but they still have to learn the system. And even if they are a junior, senior, especially quarterback, you can't give them the full, like you can't open up the full playbook from the very beginning because they're still just trying to learn all the new terminology, all the schemes, all that. Whereas like Arch Manning has had time to soak and study, and that's when you see great things. Is they've had their guy in the waiting, prepping, so that when it's his turn, he really explodes. And I think
yeah.
that's what you're going to see with Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Maybe some this year with Hank Brown. Maybe it really starts to come together next year. But we're going to see that as time goes on.
Well, and Hank Brown's been patient. I'm not in any way comparing him to Arch Manning, but he has done what you're supposed to do. He's come in, he's been humble. He's, done the scout team. He's just been satisfied with, hey, I'm here and I'm going to learn, and now it's his chance to step up, and he's humble about it. He's
Yeah,
not arrogant. I mean, in his interviews and stuff, he was talking about how Peyton Thorne's a leader and was helping him, and I think that also shows a lot of class for Peyton Thorne, because if you're a senior and you're getting benched, that's humbling. And this is Peyton Thorne's last year of eligibility, so that's got to be a tough pill to swallow.
yeah,
And for this young guy to come in and be like, hey, I really respect Peyton Thorne. He's helped me a lot, and kind of giving him props or whatever. That's just a kind thing to do.
yeah,
Um, so I just like the character of Hank. I think he's a good kid, man.
yeah,
I'm rooting for him for sure.
yeah. It,
So
yeah. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him at Auburn.
yeah, I do too. I really do, man. Man, I'm not predicting he's going to be the next big thing, but man, his nickname is Baby Goat, and he can throw and he can play. So, let's see how this develops.
Yeah,
But Auburn
really
fans are
excited to
excited
see
about
him.
it. Yeah.
Really excited to see him next week against Arkansas.
Yeah, that should be a good one.
Um, then Mississippi State didn't stand a chance against Toledo.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, in Toledo, I mean, it is Toledo, but let's be honest. Toledo's not a bad team.
right?
People want to make a joke about, the MAC and stuff, but Toledo's good.
Yeah,
Um, Mississippi State, okay, they're not as good this year. That's evident. They, went on the road and lost a tough one to Arizona State. Um, it's going to be a rough year for them, but man, they're s- they're they got beat by Toledo, but Toledo's a good team. I
yeah,
think Toledo could beat a lot of schools and surprise some folks. So
yeah,
I don't think Mississippi State should take this so hard, man. That was a good team. This is a hard year for them. Ever since Mike Leach passed away, things have been kind of tumultuous there at Mississippi State, and this is just a tough year. They're going to have to go through some growing pains.
yeah. It,
I think they got the right guy. I like Levy. I think he's gonna, you know, figure it out. But man, yeah, this is gonna be a tough year for them.
yeah, yeah. Tough losing 41-17 to anybody, really.
Yeah, but I don't want to discount Toledo. I think they're a
Yeah,
good school. So
yeah. And and Mississippi State hosts Florida next. So, like I said,
yeah, if
$13
if
tickets if
Florida
you want to go
can't
see.
beat Mississippi State, yeah, that's problematic.
Yeah, yeah, that's going to be yeah. We'll we'll just have to talk about that one next week. And
Yeah,
don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this. Tennessee beats Kent State 71 nothing. Um
yeah, they handled them. That's
th
that's what that's what you do when you're an elite program. Tennessee's playing like an elite program,
yeah.
and
Si-
yeah,
37 points in the first quarter,
yeah,
65 points in the first half.
that was
Um
incredible. Yep.
o- Only 6 points after that, but I mean second half it was everybody's getting a shot. I heard that um 102 players played for Tennessee
Good.
in that game. Um, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but everybody got to play. And
Man, yeah, that's a dream come true for those young guys.
yeah,
Getting a chance to. I don't know how many of these games are going to be close enough, or are going to allow them to get on the field. So when they can, I'm glad that they could take advantage of it
yeah,
and still look like an elite team. And to me, Tennessee's an elite team.
yeah.
So good for them.
Well, the test starts now.
Yeah,
Going to Oklahoma and kicking off the SEC schedule. So I'm interested to see what the
yeah,
Vols do
yeah.
this
That
season.
I think is definitely the big game this weekend in the SEC anyway. Is Tennessee and Oklahoma.
Yeah. Um, interesting weekend. Things that happened that I did not expect, but that is college football. Um,
Yeah.
Interested to see what happens next weekend. I'm looking at the Arkansas at Auburn.
Hmm.
I'm I'm looking. I'm interested to see what Florida does at Mississippi State. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, this is for both teams more of a pride game. Like, what are you gonna do when you've got you don't have a whole lot to play for? Um, so we'll see what happens there. Interested to see what LSU does going forward. Off to a rocky start. Um,
Well,
so
it'd be a
I
lot
think
worse if they had lost to South Carolina. So,
yeah,
but they didn't. Um, yeah, their season is salvageable, but yeah, they need to figure out some stuff.
yeah, and I mean I'm excited for college football being back.
Yeah. Oh,
Can't
so
believe
good.
we're already 3 weeks in, getting ready for week 4, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, me too. Man, I love it. And I don't think my wife loves it as much because I'm a little bit preoccupied, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting there just laughing, and she's like, "What are you laughing at?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just laughing at this text I'm having with Bradley and Chris Murphy." And
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite things about college football is I'm sitting there texting buddies, and cracking jokes and
Yeah.
talking about the games and stuff. As much as I love watching the games, I also really enjoy that too. Um,
it's a
so,
blast, and you can be a part of the action as well if you go on Venmo, search at TSIO Pod,
mhm.
uh, make any donation to the show, get invited to a group chat where we talk about games all day long. So we'd love for you to join us. Also find us on social media at TSIO Pod. Um, check out the picture of a young Bradley with a bee burned into his chest.
Yes, you don't, but you do want to see
Yeah,
this.
it
So,
it's a sight to behold. And oh yeah,
yeah,
I'm sure it's still there.
you put it out there, and there was a part of me that was like he really did this. He
Yeah.
posted this. But good on you, man. I'm proud that you had that story, and it's now confirmed that it wasn't just a story. It happened,
I mean,
and it's
whatever.
on Instagram for the world to enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably find it online somewhere because I know it got posted on like
Pa
a
Pasty Baylor fan,
yeah,
sunburnt Baylor fan.
yeah.
Yeah,
The next week's like student newsletter or something at Baylor had that picture on it. So it's probably online somewhere else in the Baylor archives as well. Um, man,
I love it.
I still remember that day vividly. It's like, why is this not coming off? Oh no.
Was that Art Briles that was there when you were there?
No, this
That
was
was pre
pre
Art
Art
Briles.
Briles. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
I forgot who
Daniel
they had. Who they had
Sepulveda.
before him?
Oh, geez.
I
I
can't
don't know.
remember.
Because we would go to watch um Texas, Oklahoma,
Yeah,
A&M, Tech, all in the top 25.
yeah.
Um, and so our best player was Daniel Sepulveda, our punter, who I believe went to the Steelers and punted for a long time.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, he was kind of built like a linebacker, and I remember him making way too many tackles. Whether I can't remember if he did kickoffs, but on punts, like guys getting through, and he had to make the tackle. Um, so he was the best player from what I remember. Um,
Yeah, so that was when Baylor wasn't as good.
yeah, no,
They were actually really bad back then.
yeah,
Yeah,
they were the Mississippi State of the Big 12
of the
at
Big
the time.
12. Yep. Hmm.
Um, yeah, I did not go there for football. I went there
Right.
to see something other than the state of Tennessee and see people other than the ones that I've been in school with for 7 years. Nothing against them. I want to change it up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I came away
Yeah,
with a bee burned
Baylor's
in
a
my chest.
totally different situation now than they were when you were
To-
there. So,
Absolutely. My dorm room, my dorm room was torn down after I moved out. Um,
well, and they didn't
because
even have an on-campus stadium then.
no,
There was a lot of it was
yeah,
just a different
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah. Now it sits on the river right there on campus, on the edge of campus, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
It used
nice.
to
Yeah.
be you'd have to drive several miles off campus. It was no fun. Tailgating wasn't good.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what's happening to the stadium, that old stadium now, but yeah, what Waco has changed. That Chip
Yeah, the
and
last time I was
Joe,
in Waco was probably 2 years ago, and it was nice. Like,
yeah, it's different.
yeah.
And I chalk that up mainly to Chip and Joanna Gaines. They
Mhm.
this was pre people knowing about them. Um, uh, most people only knew Waco, Texas for David Koresh.
Yeah.
We went
Which
out there
wasn't
a
even
few
in
times.
actual Waco, was it? It was like outside of Waco,
Yeah,
right?
it's kind of outside of Waco, but
Mhm.
we went out there a couple times.
Yeah.
It was scary enough in the daylight that I will never go back. Uh,
There
in
was a
at dark.
documentary on, I think it was on Netflix about that. It was that documentary was really good because it kind of gave a different perspective of that whole story that um, almost made me have a little more, mm, I guess, compassion for how that played out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I'll tell you
that's a
what,
good
when
that's a good documentary. Hey, there's a documentary now. It's like a 6 episode series that's about NIL that's on
Ooh,
Amazon Prime, and it's something about money. I don't remember the title, but it basically follows Jaden. Was it Jaden Daniels and
yeah.
Angel Reese, and there's another athlete from LSU, a gymnast. But their
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
NIL journey, and this is a new. It just came out, so I'm looking forward to watching that. But that's on Amazon Prime. You could, you know, do a search and figure it out. But it's about NIL, but it
Yeah,
looks really good. I think it's a 6 episode um, thing.
I'm gonna be watching that
Yeah.
maybe starting tonight.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. It's on my list. I'm like, I got to watch this.
can't
So
wait. Well, maybe I'll throw in my visiting the Koresh compound story later this season. Um,
please do.
ju- just
Yes.
just to bring up some old Baylor stories. But
And yeah, if somehow that photograph of you with the sunburnt bee painted on your chest makes it to the show, then so be it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well,
Maybe
Jared,
that's your background next week.
yeah, that's what it is. Tune into YouTube because maybe that'll be my background. Jared, thank you again for going through these games with me.
Absolutely, man. I love the SEC. Before we part, FSU's a dumpster fire. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that stood out to you outside of the SEC?
Um, Really, it's just, what is it? Six of the top seven teams are from the SEC.
Yeah.
I don't expect that to last too much
No,
longer just
no, they're going to beat up
because,
on each other. Yep.
yeah, there's going to be some of that, but it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes up. And come playoff time, what does the SEC do? And does it become an SEC tournament? I don't know. Um, stories to
Yeah.
watch as the season unfolds.
Yeah, but you still got some schools out there like Kansas State. I think they're potentially in the mix.
Yeah,
Miami, of course. Ohio State will probably be there. There's going to be some schools from other conferences that are in the hunt that aren't going to go away. Um, I'm curious to see, Oregon beat Oregon State. Do we
yeah,
really know that much about Oregon yet? It's Dan Lanning, and so um, maybe they're just starting out having a few little rough things at the beginning of the year, and then they, all of a sudden turn it up. So it'll be.
yeah,
I'm personally curious to see how Oregon plays this year.
yeah.
Um,
I'm interested to see what the top 10 looks like
hmm
in about 2 weeks once we've
Yep.
really gotten into SEC schedule, um, and see what happens with some of these teams.
Yeah,
So
I agree. hmm
that's where I'm looking. But yeah, and until next week, uh, hey, heroes come in all sizes. Roll Vols, War Vols, Jared.
Yeah, and maybe Chris Murphy is going to make a visit. So we don't know. We never
Yeah.
know. We never win. So
We'll have to hog time and bring him in.
uh, yeah, you make that sound probably more fun than it would actually be. I don't
Well,
know. Maybe that would be fun. But
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So if we don't see Chris Murphy next week, but you never know. I'm just kind of dropping hints. So
yeah.
you might see him.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jared.
Hey, thank you, Bradley. And yeah, war balls, right? So
Yeah. We'll see you next week.
Tailgate man,